My son once said, "Mom, I'll never forget what you've done for me." But people forget. Not all at once, just little pieces at a time, until one day you're standing at the back of a ballroom and they don't even remember your name. He promised I'd have a seat in the front row. I paid for half the wedding, half the happiness, half the dream. But when I arrived, still in my hospital scrubs after a double shift, the usher checked his list and said my name wasn't there. That was the moment I realized some people erase you quietly, not because you're gone, but because they think they've outgrown where they came from. My name is Veronica Lane. I'm 68 years old. I've been a nurse for 43 years, and this is the night I learned that love without respect means nothing. Before we continue, tell me where you're watching from and subscribe to Her Legacy Tales, where every story reminds us that strength doesn't retire. Now, back to the beginning. The music was soft and elegant. A string quartet played near the front of the ballroom. People clapped and laughed and took photos under golden lights. I stood at the very back, still wearing my hospital scrubs. Today is my son's wedding. I rushed here straight from work. I didn't want to miss a thing. I didn't even have time to change into something nicer, but I told myself, it's fine. He will be happy I'm here. I walked to the entrance podium and smiled at the young usher in a crisp black suit. "Hello," I said. "I'm the groom's mother, Veronica Lane." He looked at his list. Then he scrolls on a tablet. His usual smile stayed on his face, but his eyes changed. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "Your name isn't on the list." At first I thought I heard wrong. Not on the list? Impossible. "My son is Ethan Lane," I said. "Lane? Lane. Could you please check again?" He checked. Then he stepped aside and whispered into his radio. Guests behind me grew impatient and I stepped out of the way. People brushed past me to get to their seats. Women in beautiful dresses, men fixing their ties. Everyone was excited. No one noticed the mother of the groom waiting alone by the door. I glanced toward the head table. There stood Ethan, my boy. He looked so handsome in his gray suit. His bride, Diana, stood beside him in a glowing white dress. Their eyes met mine for one brief second. He looked away first. Diana leaned close to him and whispered something. He nodded. I felt something sharp inside my chest. A woman behind me gave a small laugh. "She must be staff," she said to her friend. They both stared at my scrubs. "I'm not staff," I murmured, but the words barely left my lips. My hands felt cold even though the room was warm. The usher cleared his throat. "Ma'am, maybe you should use the staff entrance. You can watch from the back." Watch? From the back? I paid for half of this. Wedding. Every smile, every flower, every light. I helped make this day possible. I swallowed hard and stood straight. "I prepaid for my parking," I said calmly. "The venue said my name would be on the sponsor list." "I don't see any sponsor listed under your name," he replied. I opened my bag. Inside was a neatly folded contract, a copy of my bank wire, the florist invoice with my signature, proof that I did not come here for free. Before I could show it, a woman stepped in front of me like a queen entering her palace. She wore a silver dress that shimmered under the lights. Her perfume smelled expensive. Her smile, sharp. Evelyn Kress, mother of the bride. "Oh, Veronica," she said softly. "As soon as I saw scrubs, I figured something like this might happen." "Something like what?" "There's a little seating mix-up," she continued. "The front is for family and important guests. You'll have a much better view from the back. No, pressure." She slid something across the podium, a place card, cream-colored, thick paper, 2 bold letters, staff. I stared at it like it was on fire. "I am the groom's mother," I said. "Of course," she replied kindly. "So let's not cause a scene. Ethan has been so nervous. We don't want any stress today, do we?" She placed a hand on my arm, a cold, light touch, like she was brushing dirt away. My throat tightened. I felt the sting behind my eyes, but I would not cry. Not here. Mom. I turned. Ethan stood there, close enough to reach, but suddenly a million miles away. Please, he whispered, don't make this difficult. Difficult? I gave up so much for him. I paid bills when he struggled. I worked nights so he could go to college. I loaned money for this very wedding. And now, I was the problem? I inhaled slowly. Nurses learn to breathe through pain. I'm not making anything difficult, I said. I'm just trying to take my seat. Look, Mom. He rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't think you'd still be wearing work clothes. You should relax at the back. Enjoy the night. We'll have pictures later. He didn't look into my eyes when he said it. He turned before I could answer. He returned to his place, beside his new family. The usher motioned toward the back of the room. I stepped inside, holding my contract tightly. The music played louder now. Guests clapped for someone arriving. I couldn't see who. I didn't care. I was trying to keep from breaking. A server paused next to me with a tray of sparkling water. Ma'am, would you like one? Her kindness almost shattered me. Yes, I said softly. Thank you. She smiled, her name tag shining. Tasha. You're welcome. You look beautiful today. I hadn't heard those words in years. I walked toward the dim corner near the kitchen. A seat was waiting, next to other staff taking a quick break before dinner. The Taldia chair wobbled. The tablecloth had a stain on it, but I sat, because I didn't know what else to do. I looked at the head table again. I saw champagne. I saw perfect photos. I saw my son laughing with guests who barely knew his name. He had forgotten mine. The announcer tapped the microphone. Everyone, let's thank our generous sponsors. A slide appeared on the giant LED screen. Logos, names, applause. I waited to see mine. It didn't come. But then the screen glitched. A new slide popped up suddenly, presented with the support of Veronica Lane. It shone bright and clear. My name, my sacrifice. Up there for everyone to see. People looked around, whispers, eyes turning toward me. Evelyn froze. Diana stopped smiling. Ethan, the shock on his face. He finally saw me. A slow heat spread through my chest. Not shame, power. The announcer frowned, confused, but the truth was already on display. And as I sat there, in the very last row, with stained linens and kitchen smells, I realized something. If they didn't want me in the front, the screen would take me there instead. And this was only the beginning. I stood up from the staff table, holding the contract tight in my hand, and walked toward the stage. I walked slowly toward the stage, not rushed, not angry, just steady. Every eye I passed felt like it was looking through me, some confused, some judging, some curious. But I only focused on one thing, my name glowing on that big screen. The announcer cleared his throat. Ah, one of our wonderful sponsors, everyone, Ms. Veronica Lane. His voice trembled a little, like he had not been prepared for this part of the show. A few people clapped politely. Others whispered to each other. I stood at the edge of the stage steps, unsure for one tiny moment. Should I go up? Or should I stay down here where they wanted me to stay? Before I could move, Mr. Cole, the venue manager, appeared at my side. Ms. Lane, he whispered. I'm so sorry, something is wrong. I need to confirm your documents. His eyes were kind but worried, like he sensed a disaster coming. I handed him the folded contract. My hands did not shake. He read the first page, then the second. He looked up. Everything seems correct, he said. I'm going to check the system. Please, wait here. Wait. I was always told to wait. Wait for a nurse to take over. Wait for permission. Wait for a thank you that never comes. I watched him hurry away. Behind me, someone spoke in a low voice. She must have snuck in. No, look, her name is on the screen. But why is she dressed like that? Maybe she's staff. That word again. Staff. I turned slowly, and there she was, Evelyn, arms crossed over her perfect dress, Her lips curved into a smile that wasn't a smile. "Veronica," she said, stepping closer, "I told you. Everything is under control." Under control? My heart was not under her control. Neither was the truth. "I paid for this wedding," I said quietly. "Half of it. You know that." "Oh, yes," she answered lightly. "You helped a little, but we must think of appearances. You didn't dress for the front row. It would look poor." Poor? Poor? I worked 43 years, never asked anyone for a single free thing. I raised my chin. "I didn't come for photos," I said. "I came for my son." "They're married now." Her voice tightened. "You need to know when to step back. You're embarrassing him." Embarrassing? Because I worked? Because I wore scrubs? Because I wasn't shiny enough for her ballroom? Evelyn leaned in close, her perfume making me feel trapped. "Take your seat in the back," she whispered, "or I promise you, you'll regret staying." There it was, the first open threat of the night. I could have argued, I could have yelled, but I smiled instead, because I knew something she didn't. Not all battles need shouting. Some battles are won with documents. Behind her, the giant screen switched to the sponsor slide again, presented with the support of Veronica Lane. This time, the letters flashed bright, bold white. There was no hiding me now. A server walked by again, Tasha, the girl who had been kind to me. She paused. "Ms. Lane," she said, "I have your place card." She held a small envelope. On the front, "Reserved, row A, seat 3. I blinked. Row A, front row, where a groom's mother belongs. So the truth was in the system. Evelyn grabbed the envelope from Tasha's hand so fast the paper bent. "There was a change," she hissed again. "She will sit in the back, with staff." Staff, staff, staff. That word dug deep, but this time it planted something, strength. Maybe the screen could show my name, but I could show my heart. "I'm sorry," Tasha whispered to me. "I found that in the tech booth. It was hidden under other cards. Hidden, not lost." I gave her a nod of thanks. She nodded back, brave in that small moment. Mr. Cole returned, holding a printed paper in his tablet. "Ms. Lane," he said loudly, "we found the issue. The chart in the computer shows you here. Row A, seat 3. He pointed at the front row. Every guest turned. "Someone printed a different chart," he added. "A false one." He looked straight at Evelyn. Evelyn's smile finally cracked. "Oh, Cole," she said with a shaky laugh. "Why dig into such a tiny mistake? We're all family here." Were we? Because I did not feel like family. I stepped forward. My voice grew steadier with every word. "I worked a double shift today, not because I had to, but because I help people. That's who I am, and I helped pay for this entire room." I looked at Ethan, really looked. His face was pale. "Mom," he whispered, but softly, without strength. I walked toward him, each step heavy and light at the same time. When I reached his table, I felt all the years between us. Every lunch I packed, every fever I soothed, every lonely night after his father died. I laid the contract in front of him. He stared at the number. Half the venue cost, my savings, my love. Then I spoke the truest words of the night. "I am not staff. I am not someone to hide. I am your mother." The room went silent. Even the music stopped. Evelyn stepped forward fast, her voice rising. "This is out of line, Veronica. You don't belong." Mr. Cole raised his hand. "Enough," he said. "We honor sponsors here. We honor family." He motioned toward the front row. "For you, Ms. Lane, where you should have been from the start." I inhaled slowly. I could take that seat. Right now, I could sit in front of everyone who doubted me, but I did not move. Not yet, because this fight was not about a chair. Not anymore. It was about respect, and respect is not given. It's claimed. I looked at Evelyn, at Ethan, at Diana, at every person who had judged me by my clothes. Then I smiled. "I'll take my seat," I said softly. "But first..." I turned toward the stage, toward the microphone, toward the cameras and the giant screen that had already begun to show the truth. This was my moment, not to embarrass, but to teach. I stepped up to the microphone, and every light in the ballroom turned toward me. I never imagined holding a microphone would feel heavier than lifting a patient, but tonight it did. The spotlight hit me from above, warm, bright, almost like noon sun on a long day. I stood center stage. Behind me, the giant screen still showed my name, presented with the support of Veronica Lane, a truth they tried to bury, now glowing larger than all of us. I cleared my throat. My heart tapped fast but strong, not from fear, from purpose. "Hello," I said, voice simple. Most guests did not expect me to speak. Some frowned. Some leaned closer. "I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate my son Ethan and his beautiful bride Diana." They smiled politely, but I saw the question in their eyes. Who is she really? I took a breath, not shaky, slow. "I came straight from work today," I continued. "I am a nurse. I've been one for 43 years. I didn't have time to change into something fancy, but I didn't want to be late. I wanted to be here for him." I looked at Ethan. His face was tight, almost begging me to stop. But I kept going. "Some of you might have thought I was staff." I let the word land, soft but sharp. And that's okay. Serving others with care is an honor. There were nods, small, respectful ones. People were listening. But I did not come here tonight to hide in the back. I raised my chin slightly. I helped pay for this wedding. The gasp moved through the room like wind across grass. I gave what I have because I believed in this love, because family, I looked directly at Evelyn, should lift each other up, never push anyone down. Evelyn's face stiffened like hard ice. "But I was asked to sit near the kitchen." My voice stayed calm. No anger, just honesty. A ripple of discomfort passed through the guests. I could see the MC glance nervously toward the tech team, unsure whether to cut my mic, but he didn't. I placed my hand gently on the microphone stand. "I am not here to blame, not here to yell. I am here to remind my son." I touched my heart, that I love him and I am proud of him. Ethan blinked quickly. Was he fighting tears or shame? "Love does not need a front row seat," I said softly, "but respect does." Some of the older women nodded. Older men, too. I felt their support, warm like a hand on my shoulder. I turned toward the servers near the back, people who looked surprised that a sponsor even saw them. "I want to thank the staff tonight, every one of you, for your kindness, for making this night beautiful." I smiled at Tasha. She pressed a hand to her heart. Applause. Real applause. Not routine. Strong. Meaningful. And that applause washed over me like sunlight. Diana looked nervous. Not villainous. Just shaken. Like she realized her mother's plan had gone too far. Ethan shifted in his seat. He looked trapped between two worlds, one polite and perfect, one real and loyal. I finished with calm grace. "I will take my correct seat now, and I will watch my son start a new life, with hope." I stepped back. The lights dimmed from my face and returned to the couple. People looked at me now with respect. Not confusion, not judgment. Respect. And Evelyn hated it. As I walked off the stage, I overheard whispers behind me. "She's so poised. She paid for this? What kind of family treats a mother like that? That poor woman." Poor woman? No, not anymore. Evelyn stood waiting for me like a storm given a human form. "That was dramatic," she whispered, voice trembling. "I told the truth," I replied. She leaned close, her breath cold on my ear. "You think you won something?" Her lips curled. "You have no idea what I can take from you." I looked her dead in the eyes. You already tried, I said, and I'm still standing. A cheer went up from the crowd at the front tables. Some brave guest shouted, "Go Veronica!" I smiled, not wide, just enough. And I walked to row A, seat 3, my seat. Ethan stared at me as I sat down. Diana avoided my eyes. Evelyn looked like she might explode. Good. This was only the beginning. The servers rolled in dinner trays. But Tasha slipped me a folded note with shaking fingers. "There's more you need to know. Meet me by the service hallway." The salads had just been served when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned. Tasha stood behind me, eyes wide and anxious. "Miss Lane," she whispered, "please come with me." Quickly. Ethan started to say something, but I stood before he finished. "I'll be right back," I told him. He nodded weakly. I followed Tasha through a side door that led to the service hallway. It smelled like roasted chicken and clean linens. Servers rushed past carrying trays. No music, no applause, just truth. "What is it?" I asked gently. She looked around, making sure we were alone. "There's a message," she said. "From the bride's mother. You should see it." She handed me a printed sheet. Fresh ink, neat lines. I read it. "To all staff, seat her near the kitchen. Her name is Veronica Lane. She might claim she is family. Do not believe her. She will try to embarrass the couple. Keep cameras away from her. No access to stage, no comp services. Keep her quiet." Signed, Evelyn Kress. My fingers tightened on the paper, not shaking, controlling. "They taped that near the time clock," Tasha whispered, "but one of the cooks ripped it down. He thought it was cruel. We all did." A cook. Someone who understood work, hard work. "Thank you," I said. "You didn't have to show me this." "Yes, I did," she said. "You deserve better." Her kindness meant more than anything spoken at that fancy head table. Before I could reply, another staff member, older with gray in his beard, approached. "Ma'am," he said, "I have something else." He handed me a folded paper, a seating chart, the real one, the one with my name printed properly, row A, seat 3, groom's mother, sponsor. And then a second seating chart, handwritten changes, red marks, an angry pen. "Move her to back. Staff section. Hide her from cameras." And next to those orders, Evelyn's initials, EK proof, every line of disrespect, signed. I felt a slow fire rising in my chest. Not rage. Rage explodes. This was something better. Rage with direction. "This isn't right," Tasha said, shaking her head. "We all saw what she did." I folded both sheets carefully and slipped them into my bag. And then, very softly, I asked, "Can you get me the audio device? The one speakers wear during toasts?" Tasha blinked. "You want the mic feed?" "Yes," I said, "in case I need it later." Her eyes widened. Then she smiled, a small, brave smile. "I'll get it," she said, "and I'll make sure it's connected." As she hurried off, the gray-bearded server looked at me with respect. "You remind me of my mother," he said. "She didn't let anyone push her around either." I laughed gently. "I'm learning." He nodded and walked back inside. I stood alone for a moment. But I didn't feel alone. The hum of the kitchen gave me strength. People like me lived in these halls, worked in these shoes. People who earned respect, not demanded it. I took one last look at the note in my bag, and then I walked back into the ballroom. But when I returned to the table, something had changed. Diana was crying quietly. Ethan held her hand, looking trapped. Evelyn stood behind them, face red with anger. "You will apologize to my guests," she hissed. "Right now, you embarrassed us." Who was she talking to? My heart froze when I realized she was talking to me. I stayed calm, very calm. "I told the truth," I said. "That's all." "You humiliated us." Her voice grew louder. Some tables turned to watch. "Humiliated? No, not yet." I took a step closer to her. "If you think a chair in the back could hide me," I said softly, "you don't know me at all." She glared at me. This is my daughter's night, she spat. You don't matter here. Then why are you trying so hard to silence me? She opened her mouth. But the MC tapped the microphone again. Toasts are about to begin. Please take your seats. Perfect timing. Evelyn leaned in close. You're done, she growled. I will make sure you never see that boy again. I smiled. I raised that boy, I said. He will remember who stood beside him when the truth finally burns through your lies. I sat down slowly, gracefully, like a mother who knows time is her ally. As the first toast began, the lights dimmed and the cameras focused on the head table. Guests lifted glasses. Music swelled. I touched the corner of my bag, knowing the evidence inside was a weapon Evelyn would never see coming. Beneath Diana's napkin, a phone buzzed. On screen, a message popped up. Did you hide the sponsor, or did she return? Call me. MK. Who was MK, and what else were they hiding? The ballroom returned to its glow as guests settled for dinner, but my heart was no longer settling. The humiliation I had tasted earlier was replaced by something stronger, a clear purpose. At my table, Ethan and Diana picked at their salads without speaking, and Evelyn kept glancing toward me as if waiting for me to break again. I would not give her that satisfaction. In my bag were the proof sheets from the staff hallway, enough to expose what she had done, but something still didn't make sense. I knew exactly how much I wired for this wedding. I had counted every dollar carefully, years of careful saving for emergencies, for retirement, for peace, suddenly spent on a day I had thought would be filled with family, not shame. Mr. Cole reappeared quietly beside me, holding his tablet against his chest. He kept his voice low. Miss Lane, I checked the final payment logs. The bank wire you sent, it didn't come from your account. My spine stiffened. What do you mean it didn't come from mine? It shows a transfer with your name, he said, scrolling. But the money came from a different sender, a personal account under... His eyes lifted and landed on Evelyn across the table. Evelyn Kress. My breath caught. My own funds? Stolen? Rerouted? Used under my name while I stood here being pushed aside? She used my payment? I whispered. His nod was small but certain. Your signature was replicated from the florist invoice she had access to. The venue only saw authorization from Miss Lane, so we didn't question it. The funds, however, he tapped twice, directly from her account. That explained everything. The missing comped services, the attempts to erase me. If the venue never actually received my money from me, I looked like someone trying to claim credit without paying a cent. Evelyn hadn't just tried to hide me, she tried to make me appear like a liar. The room tilted slightly as the realization landed. She used my name, my identity, to buy power, to control the story. Can this be proven? I asked, already knowing the answer. Yes, he said firmly. Everything is logged electronically. Before we could say more, Diana stood and stepped around Evelyn, her eyes red from tears. She approached me as if she wasn't sure whether she was allowed. Veronica, I didn't know. I believed her. She looked betrayed, too. How long has she been doing this? Diana asked her mother. Why did you use her name for the payment? Evelyn gave a cold laugh. Why do you think? Appearances, darling. Imagine telling your friends the groom's mother paid for half the venue while wearing... those. Her gaze drifted down my scrubs, disdain dripping like poison. This way, we looked generous, and she stayed quiet. Diana backed away as if her mother's words were a physical blow. You told me she refused to help, she whispered. You said she wanted to embarrass us. I told you what you needed to hear, Evelyn replied, smoothing her dress as if that could smooth her lies. I felt the anger rise, but I did not let anger speak. I let truth speak instead. You stole my generosity, I said quietly, and then you punished me for your theft. Guests nearby had gone silent. Forks paused mid-air. Interest was shifting, and not in Evelyn's favor. She hissed under her breath, "Stop your act." Mr. Cole interjected, voice firm. "Mrs. Kress, we need to continue this conversation privately." Evelyn straightened, putting her mask back on. "Of course. Anyway, who cares who paid? The important thing is—" "The important thing," I interrupted, "is respect." My voice wasn't loud, but it carried. I saw something change on Ethan's face. Confusion, fear, guilt. He looked at Diana, who refused to look at her mother again. He whispered, "Mom, is this true?" "Yes," I said, "all of it." He lowered his head into his hands. The walls Evelyn had built were cracking. I just needed to push once more and let them fall on their own. As the next toast began, Evelyn excused herself to go fix something with the MC. She didn't notice Diana slip away in the opposite direction, wiping her face. Nor did she notice the way several guests leaned toward me to whisper, "We're on your side." The perfect mother of the bride was losing her perfect audience. Tonight wasn't about my seat anymore. It was about my name and reclaiming it. As dessert trays rolled out, I received a text from an unknown number, a screenshot of the bank transfer. The note read, "You're not the only one she fooled. Meet me at the tech booth." Someone else knew the truth and was ready to help me expose it. The music softened into a romantic melody as couples stood to sway together under chandeliers. It was beautiful. A beauty built partly on my sacrifice, though few understood that yet. I slipped from my table with my phone in hand and made my way to the back of the ballroom, toward the tech booth where screens glowed with the controls of the night. A young man wearing a headset glanced up as I approached. Recognition lit his face. "Ms. Lane, I'm Mark." His badge read, "Social Media and Event Streaming." I sent the text. He angled his laptop so I could see. The screen showed a folder titled Wedding Content, Live Queue. Inside were shots of me speaking earlier, already clipped and time-stamped. But below those files was something more dangerous. The seating chart photos, the printed note with Evelyn's handwriting, and a video captured from a security camera in the hallway. In the footage, Evelyn stood with a staff supervisor pointing at my name. "Hide her in the back. The kitchen area is fine. She won't be missed." Guests were already reacting live. Mark opened a comment feed from the venue's private event stream. More than 300 people watching remotely, leaving messages. "Is that the mother of the groom? Why is she near the kitchen? They put her there on purpose? Shameful? She seems so sweet. What's wrong with them?" The public had chosen their side. "You have evidence," Mark said. "Real evidence. If you want, I can push this media to the main screens. Or hold it until your moment." My moment. "I'll decide when it matters most," I told him. "Thank you for trusting me." "It's easy to trust the one telling the truth," he replied. As I walked back, the tension in the ballroom felt thicker. People were watching me openly now. Some stood just to get a better look, as if witnessing something historic. Meanwhile, Evelyn had cornered Ethan near the bar. I paused just far enough away to listen. "You will control her," she snapped softly. "Tell her to leave before she ruins this night." Ethan shook his head. "She didn't do anything wrong." "Oh, please," Evelyn spat. "A real mother would know her place." A real mother. Like her? Ethan turned away, finding Diana near the fountains. Diana looked shattered, but also free, like someone who finally sees the bars of a cage. They spoke quietly, urgently. Diana wiped another tear. Evelyn followed, voice rising again. "He is my son now," she barked. "Everything he has is because of me." That was her biggest mistake, saying it loud enough for the room to hear. Chairs turned, mouths dropped, more cameras came out. Ethan stepped back from her like he finally recognized the monster standing before him. "Mom," he said, but not to Evelyn. He came to me instead. We stood face to face, the whole room watching. He spoke quietly, voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I should have stood up for you earlier. I was scared she'd ruin everything." "She already did," I said gently. "But tonight isn't over." Dinner plates were cleared away. The band leader tapped the mic. "It's time for our final toast before cutting the cake." Evelyn pushed toward the stage first, but Mr. Cole blocked her path. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Kress," he said, voice formal. "You are no longer authorized to speak tonight." He nodded toward me. "Ms. Lane has the sponsor clause. 1 more minute on the microphone, legally required." Guests murmured with excitement, leaning in. Phones rose like a sea of glowing witnesses. Evelyn stood frozen, checkmate pieces falling around her. I took the mic, calm as ever. "My name is Veronica Lane," I said, "and tonight I learned something important." Each word held the weight of years of unspoken pain and a future full of new rules. Love without respect is nothing. Diana reached for Ethan's hand. He held it tight. Evelyn stood alone. Then I said the one sentence that would change everything. I didn't lose my place tonight. I reclaimed it. Applause erupted, louder than anything before. Not polite applause, support, justice. A security guard approached Evelyn and tapped her shoulder. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "you need to come with us." The room gasped as she was escorted toward the exit, while I remained under the spotlight. Security led Evelyn toward the foyer while the room buzzed like a beehive. People were not whispering anymore. They were choosing sides, and most of them were choosing mine. I did not smile. I did not gloat. I stood steady with the microphone in my hand and let the noise pass through me like wind through a field. I thanked the band and handed the mic back to the MC. He nodded with a grateful look I did not expect. The lights returned to a warm glow. Couples started talking again. Servers moved like a quiet tide. The night wanted to pretend it could return to normal. It could not. Ethan walked to me with his shoulders tight. He looked older than he had at the start of the night. "Mom," he said, "I'm sorry." The words came out thin, as if he had to pull them over rocks to get them out. "There's something I need to tell you." We stepped to the side near the flower wall. The roses smelled too sweet. It made my teeth ache. He rubbed the back of his neck the way he did when he was a boy who had lost his house key. "I asked you to send the payment," he said. "Then I told Diana's mom I would let her handle the vendor calls. I thought it would make things easier. I gave her your email thread to keep everything in one place. I did not think she would use your name and then cut you out." He said the last part in a rush, as if speed might make it smaller. It did not. I let the truth settle in my chest. "So you gave her the tools," I said. No anger, just words. "And she used them." He swallowed. "I didn't know she would do all of this. I wanted the night to look perfect." I nodded. "Now you know what perfect costs," I said. He closed his eyes for a moment like a man hearing a far siren. "I will make it right," he said, but it sounded like a wish, not a plan. Diana joined us. She did not clutch his arm the way she had earlier. She stood on her own feet. Her face was calm in a new way. "I found the florist email," she said. "My mother forwarded it from your account and changed a line about the sponsor clause. I saw the edits in the metadata. Mark showed me." She looked ashamed of something that was not hers to carry. I believed her because she is my mother, but tonight I see that truth and love are not the same thing. People nearby slowed their steps to listen. The room had 1,000 ears and no walls. I lowered my voice. "If you both want to fix this, you will start by respecting staff. Publicly. Tonight." They both nodded fast, grateful to be told what to do. A burst of noise rose from the foyer. The doors to the ballroom were propped open. Evelyn had not left quietly. She stood just beyond the threshold, phone in hand, talking fast to someone who did not care about the music. Security spoke to her in calm tones. She did not hear them. Her face was sharp with panic now, not power. My phone buzzed. A message from Mark. "She's calling vendors to pull the plug. We've locked the show control. Nothing changes unless Mr. Cole approves." I looked to the tech booth. He stood with a headset on, steady and alert. He gave me a small thumbs up. Another message came a second later. a short clip of the seating chart video replay, now uploaded to a private link for guests who had asked. Comments poured in from the off-site stream. People were angry on my behalf. Some were angry on their own behalf, too. You could tell which ones had been pushed to the back of some room in their lives and told to smile. Mr. Cole joined us, tablet against his chest like a shield. "Ms. Lane," he said, "we have enough to file a formal incident. The tampered chart, the printed order, the payment logs. I also spoke with the board that oversees our venue partners. If this goes on record, Evelyn will be banned from hosting or coordinating any event with our group." Diana took a breath like a swimmer coming up from deep water. "Do it," she said. Ethan nodded. "Do it." We all looked to the doors again. Evelyn had moved from calls to texts. Her thumbs flew. A server from the foyer slipped to my side and murmured, "She's sending messages to guests to leave early. She says the venue is unsafe." The server's eyes flashed with anger. "We are not unsafe. We are at work." I felt a clean heat move up my spine. "No one will chase you from your job," I said. "Not tonight." The server's mouth softened with thanks. The MC tried to bring the room back to celebration. "We're cutting the cake in a few minutes," he said, voice bright. People clapped because clapping is what you do when you don't know what else to do. Tasha slid to my elbow with a small black case. Inside was the speaker mic for toasts. "I synced it to channel 3, she whispered. "If you press here, the main screen will show your message to the staff room as well. They never get to hear nice words. I thought maybe tonight they should." I held the mic like something delicate and strong. "Thank you," I said, "for more than this." A tall woman in a navy dress approached with purpose. She carried a press badge tucked into her clutch. "I do features on local events," she said. "Normally, I only write soft pieces. But this is not soft. I have copies of the chart and the order. If you give permission, I'll quote you. It will be fair." She looked at me as if I were the one with power. It felt new. It also felt right. "You may quote me," I said, "but write about the staff first. Write their names. If you do that, you have my voice." She nodded with respect. "Understood." The band shifted songs. The cake rolled in on a silver cart. People leaned forward with their phones like they were leaning over a cliff. I signaled to the MC. He gave me the nod for the sponsor clause. Time moves oddly when everyone is waiting for you. It both slows and hums. Before I walked to the microphone, my phone buzzed again. A new number, a short text. "Check your account, refund posted." I opened my banking app with a quick tap. A pending credit stared back at me. Venue wire, reversal. The note field read, "Processed by E. Kress." Evelyn had tried to erase the damage with money now that she could not erase it with a seat card. It was too late for that. She could not buy back respect. She could not buy back time. I stepped to the center of the room. "Before the cake," I said, "I have one more thank you." The room quieted until you could hear the air conditioning hum. "To the people in black shoes and quiet hands, to the ones who moved this night like a dance we did not see, thank you. You were grace when we needed it." The staff room screen blinked with my words. I knew because Tasha pressed her hand to her chest again and smiled in a way I will remember for the rest of my life. I turned to Ethan and Diana. "Your next steps are not pictures," I said. "Your next steps are apologies." Their faces were pale and honest. "We will do it," Ethan said. "All of it," Diana added, "in writing and in person." A heavy thud echoed from the foyer. Security had closed the exterior doors. Evelyn's voice cut through for one sharp second, then faded like a radio moving out of range. The beehive buzz softened to a low, steady sound. The worst of the storm had moved outside. I handed the mic back and took my place at the front table. It was the first time all night I sat where my name was printed to sit. The chair did not feel like a throne. It felt like a level floor. The MC raised his hands for the cake cheer. Knives flashed, cameras clicked, and frosting broke in white lines. As the first slice was lifted, a man in a dark suit walked to Mr. Cole and showed a badge. They spoke in low voices and both looked at me. Mr. Cole's eyes were kind. The other man's were official. I set down my fork and waited. The suited man approached our table. "Ms. Lane," he said, voice calm and legal, "I represent the venue's compliance team. We need a brief statement about a forged authorization and an attempt to alter safety protocols. Can you step with me for 5 minutes?" The room held its breath while I stood. We stepped into a small conference room near the foyer, away from the flowers and lights. The air was cooler here, and it smelled like lemon cleaner and paper. Mr. Cole stood with us along with the compliance officer and a woman who typed on a laptop with quick, quiet hands. They asked me to tell the story in simple order. I did. I told it like a nurse gives a report at shift change. Clear facts, short sentences, no drama where none is needed. I described the entrance and the not on the list. I described the staff card and the comp denial. I described the email thread, the wire, the florist invoice, the sponsor clause. I described the 2 charts and the printed order. I described the messages and the live stream comments. I described the refund that appeared after the screen lit my name. I did not guess at motive. I did not add color. I let the paper stand where the paper should stand. They asked if I wanted to press charges for identity misuse. I said I wanted the venue to be safe for staff and honest for families. "If you choose to pursue more," I said, "I will not stand in your way." The compliance officer nodded. "We will start with the ban and the internal report," he said. "If the bank needs statements, they will reach out." He asked if I needed anything. Water, a seat, a moment. I said I needed to go back to my son. My voice did not shake. It did not have to. When I returned to the ballroom, the cake had been cut and served. People were not shoving forks into their mouths the way they do at big parties. They ate slowly, like they were remembering to chew. A few guests stopped me on my way in. One woman pressed my hand and told me her daughter had spoken to her, badly that week. She said my calm made her brave. A man in a simple suit said he had not spoken to his mother in 2 years and was going to call her tomorrow. I did not know these people, but it mattered that they knew themselves a little better now. Ethan and Diana stood near the edge of the dance floor, holding small plates and looking like children who had been told to sit up straight. They came to me the moment they saw me. "We're ready to apologize," Diana said. "To staff," Ethan added, "and to you." He looked like a person who had walked into a mirror and finally seen his face. "Thank the staff first," I said. "Then we will talk." We walked together to the service hallway. The kitchen din softened when we stepped in. People set down trays and looked up. They did not know what would be asked of them. They did not have to be ready. They only had to be there. Ethan spoke first. His words came out plain and slow. He did not try to sound special. "I'm sorry," he said to the room. "I let someone treat my mother like she was less. I let someone treat you like you were less. You were not." He swallowed and kept going. "Thank you for working hard when we did not treat you with respect. I will make this right." He looked at me. "We will make this right." Diana stepped beside him. "I believe lies because they were easy," she said. "I will not do that again. I'm sorry." She turned toward the dish pit and added, "Thank you for cleaning up after us before we even sit down." A cheer rose from the end of the line. It was not loud, but it was warm and real. A cook lifted a knife in the air like a salute. Tasha wiped her eyes with the back of her wrist and laughed at herself for doing it. The gray-bearded server nodded once and said, "Accepted," like a judge speaking a verdict everyone could live with. We returned to the ballroom and stood near the DJ. The MC handed me the mic one last time under the sponsor clause. The room settled. I could feel the attention like a tide pulling in. "I want to say one more thing," I said. "Love looks like flowers and lights. Respect looks like names on a list, chairs where they belong, and bills paid with the right names on them." A soft ripple of laughter moved through the room and then stilled. "I helped pay for this night because I believed in a beginning. I will still believe in beginnings, but I will also make sure no one is treated like furniture again. Not in this family, not in this room. I paused and let the next words line up in my mind like instruments tuning. I was going to give a cash gift for a honeymoon. That money will now go to a nurse's scholarship fund in Ethan and Diana's names. It will be released after they complete 2 things: a written apology to the staff and a day of service at the free clinic where I work. I will be there to sign both. A small roar went up. Not everyone clapped. The ones who did were the ones who understood why a gift can be a lesson without being a weapon. Ethan squeezed Diana's hand in a way that said yes without words. He looked relieved. He looked ready. We moved into the first dance. The band chose a simple song with an easy sway. I watched them turn slowly under the lights. I did not cry. I felt tired, and I felt at peace. I stood alone, without feeling alone. A few staff members lined the doorway to watch the dance. They smiled like they were allowed to smile. My phone buzzed once more. A short message. Venue board approved permanent ban. Report filed. Thank you for your grace. I put the phone away. I let the music carry the rest of the night. Near the end of the song, I felt a presence at my side. I did not need to look to know it was Ethan. He did not speak for a moment. He just stood there and let himself be my son again. "Would you dance with me next?" he asked, voice small in a good way. "I would like the pictures to show the truth." "Yes," I said. "They will." We stepped onto the floor when the music changed. The room watched, but not the way a court watches a trial. More like a porch watches a family in the evening. See them. Let them be. Let them rest. As we turned, I saw the open foyer doors. No one stood there. The space looked like a mouth that had run out of words. It was quiet, and the quiet felt earned. The song ended. People clapped softly. We returned to the table. The night finally became what it was supposed to be, a celebration with work still to do tomorrow. I took a sip of water and let my shoulders drop. The worst was behind us. The important part was ahead. Mark hurried over from the tech booth with a careful look on his face. "Ms. Lane," he said, "a reporter from the city paper is outside. She says the bank flagged the forged authorization and wants comment tonight. If you're willing, they'll run it on the morning front page." He waited for my answer while the last song began. I told Mark to let her in, not into the ballroom, not into the noise, but into the small conference room where I had given my statement. He went to fetch her while the band finished the last number and guests hugged goodbye in soft clusters. Happier now that the storm had moved off the coast, the reporter arrived with a notebook, a small recorder, and a face that looked like it had learned to listen before it learned to speak. She introduced herself as Claire. We sat across a clean table that still smelled faintly of lemon. Mr. Cole waited near the door, polite and steady. Claire clicked on her recorder and asked me to tell it plainly. I did. I didn't add heat. I didn't take any away. I said what was done, who did it, and what I chose to do instead of rage. She asked me what mattered most. "Names on a list," I said. "Chairs where they belong, bills with the right names on them, and apologies that say the right thing." "What's the right thing?" she asked. "I'm sorry," I said, "and I won't do it again." She held my eyes for a moment, then nodded. "Thank you," she said, and I could tell she meant it. She turned to Mr. Cole to confirm the documents. He confirmed what he could. She packed up with a calm that felt like closure. When I returned to the ballroom, the lights were a little brighter, the way rooms look when they are ready to be cleaned. Tasha hugged me quickly and whispered, "They're going to talk about tonight for years, but for the right reasons." I told her to go home and rest her feet. She laughed and said she would after she wrapped spoons. Ethan and Diana were waiting by the doors. They had their coats on. Their hands were linked. They looked like two people who had walked through a wind and were now grateful to stand in a hallway. "Mom," Ethan said. "The reporter asked if we wanted to say anything. We told her we're writing our apologies tonight and delivering them tomorrow." He lifted a white envelope. It was already half full of handwritten notes. We started with the dishwasher, he said. He said no one ever starts with him. Good, I said. Start with the ones no one sees first. We stepped outside. The cold air felt clean. The last guests were getting into their cars. Across the lot, a security officer stood near the curb speaking on a radio. He lifted a hand to me in a small salute. I returned it and felt my shoulders finally drop, not from surrender, but from relief. At home, I set the scholarship paperwork on my kitchen table and made a cup of tea. The house was quiet. The old clock in the hallway ticked in a way I had long stopped hearing. I took off my shoes and rubbed the line they had pressed into my feet. The cat, offended by my absence, forgave me after 2 strokes and a piece of chicken. My phone buzzed around midnight. Claire had sent me the draft. The headline was simple and kind. Mother of the groom paid, then was pushed aside. She chose respect over rage. I read the piece once and felt my throat tighten. Not because I was in it, but because the staff were in it by name. She had done what I asked. She had let them be seen. I slept. I didn't dream. Morning came with a gray light and the smell of rain. The paper landed on my porch with that small thud I love. I brought it in, folded myself into my robe, and read it on the couch with my tea cupped in both hands. The article took 2 full pages and a photo. Me at the microphone, mouth soft, eyes clear. Under it, 1 sentence: respect is not purchased, it is practiced. By 8, my phone had more messages than it usually gets in a month. Some were from nurses I hadn't seen in years. Some were from former patients who recognized my eyes. A few were from numbers I didn't know, the kind of messages people send when they have been waiting a long time for someone to say out loud what they have swallowed for years. I answered what I could and let the rest sit like letters on a table. They would keep. At 9, there was a knock. Ethan stood on my porch with a cardboard tray and 2 coffees. He looked like my boy again, the one who remembered which door creaked and where I kept the extra keys. We sat at the table with the scholarship forms between us. He looked down at them and then up at me. "I found Dad's watch last week," he said. "I meant to have it with me yesterday. I forgot. I won't forget again." He slid the watch across the table. The glass had a scratch at the 12 where life had bumped it a few times. I ran my thumb over the scratch and felt grateful for the mark. "I saw the article," he said. "Diana saw it too. She's at her mother's house, packing what she needs for a few days. She said she'll call after." He cleared his throat. "The bank wants statements. They said it looks like a forged authorization and a misrepresentation to the venue. They said the refund confirms some of it." He looked embarrassed. I didn't know any of those words could touch a wedding. "Everything touches a wedding," I said, "especially truth." He took a long breath. "We'll cooperate," he said. "We won't hide anything." "Good," I said. "Hiding is what got us here." We drove to the clinic together to deliver the first portion of the scholarship fund. The director met us at the door with a smile that made me feel like I was stepping into a warm kitchen. We filled out the form that made it official, the Lane Kress Nursing Scholarship, awarded annually to a trainee who shows quiet excellence. Ethan signed. I signed. We left a line for Diana. The director said we could come back with her after lunch to finish. We said we would. Outside, the rain had started. Not hard, just the kind that dots your coat and makes the world smell new. Ethan asked if we could stop at the cemetery. I nodded. We drove in silence. The lanes were slick and dark. At his father's stone, we stood with our hands in our pockets like 2 people trying to warm themselves at a fire that has burned low but not gone out. "I'm sorry, Dad," Ethan said, voice small and honest. "I let the picture matter more than the person. It won't happen again." He looked at me. "It can't." We stood a while longer, then went to the diner across from the hospital. We took a booth near the window. The waitress brought coffee without asking and called me Han in a way that didn't feel like a pat on the head. 2 nurses from the night shift waved at me from the counter. One of them held up the paper and tapped it with a grin. Diana called while the eggs were still warm. Her voice was tired and clear. "I'm at my mother's house," she said. "I told her I was staying with a friend for a bit. She shouted, then she cried. Then she told me I would be nothing without her. I told her I might be less comfortable without her, but I would be more honest. I'm bringing the signed apology letters this afternoon. Can we meet at the clinic? Yes, I said. We'll be there. At noon, we returned to the clinic. The waiting room was busy, the way it always is. Diana came in with a folder and a face that had learned something since yesterday. She handed the director the letters for the staff. She read one of them aloud to me without being asked. It was short, and it was right. I'm sorry. I believed things that were not true because it made my life easy. I will not do it again. Thank you for your work. I will try to be worthy of it. We signed the scholarship together. The director took our picture beside a bulletin board already crowded with thank you notes in many languages, some written by hands that had only recently learned letters. The photo would go there too. On our way out, I stopped by the supply closet and wrote down a list of what we were low on. Ethan said he would pick up the items before the week ended. Diana said she would arrange a staff lunch for next Friday. Neither of them were grand promises. They were the kind that stick. At home that evening, I took the old photo from my shelf, the one with the cracked frame, the one Evelyn would have called cheap, and I cleaned the glass. I set it back on the mantel and moved the small lamp so its light caught the corner. I started a load of laundry. I fed the cat. I answered 2 more messages, both from strangers who somehow felt like neighbors. As the sky turned the color of tea left too long, there was another knock. Mr. Cole stood on my porch with an envelope and a warm smile. "The board filed the ban," he said. "It's done." He handed me a copy of the letter. It was written in the plain way institutions write when they want to be both firm and fair. He thanked me for my grace. He thanked the staff. He said the venue would use last night as a training case. He said names on lists would be triple-checked. After he left, I made 1 more cup of tea and carried it to the porch. The street was quiet except for the small sounds that make a neighborhood feel like a held breath. The distant garage door, the bicycle chain, the laugh 2 houses over. I sat with my hands around the mug and let the day lay itself down. Ethan texted me a picture at 8. He and Diana were at their kitchen table writing the last notes. His caption said only, "Done. Thank you." A minute later, he sent another picture, the scholarship certificate printed and framed on their wall. No gold edges, no fancy fonts, just the 3 names in a neat line and the year under them like a promise. I put my phone face down and watched the porch light draw a circle on the steps. Somewhere, a dog barked twice, and then remembered it had nothing to say. I thought of the ballroom and the staff shoes and the sound of applause that had felt like sunlight. I thought of the word that had tried to stick to me and couldn't. I thought of my own name on a screen, big enough to be seen by the people who had decided I didn't belong. Respect is not purchased. It is practiced. It is receipts if you need them. It is a chair where it should be. It is a hand raised for the person no one sees. It is a scholarship for a nurse who will do all the quiet work that makes life livable. The cat nudged my ankle. The tea went warm and then cool. I turned off the porch light and stood in the small dark for a second longer than I needed to. A second long enough to say thank you to the quiet. Tomorrow there would be patients to check and charts to sign. There would be phone calls and errands and shoes to polish. There would be nothing dramatic. And that, after a long time of being pushed to the edges of other people's pictures, felt like the neatest kind of victory. If I am not family in public, I am not an ATM in private. But tonight, I had been both family and something better. I had been seen. I had been believed. And I had taught my own heart one last lesson. When the door says you're not on the list, make the light write your name. I turned the lock and went to bed. The house, like the ballroom at closing, was ready for morning.